The Hunter Who Was Watched. Extended Psychological Horror. Exterior, remote Alaskan wilderness, day. Arthur, 40s, rugged, weathered, and confident, hikes through dense spruce forest. He carries a rifle and a heavy pack. Arthur, voiceover. I've been hunting this territory since I was 18. 30 years of silence. The woods are my church. They're honest. They don't pretend. He finds a small, sheltered spot beside a half-frozen stream. He begins setting up his temporary camp. Arthur, voiceover. This land demands respect. You leave no trace. You don't get greedy. You follow the rules, and it lets you live. I thought I knew all the rules. He checks his supplies. 3 days of rations. No radio signal. The nearest highway is a 2-day hike. That night, the cold is sharp. The only sound is the crackle of his small fire. Arthur, voiceover. Out here, silence isn't peaceful. It's loud. It rings in your ears until you start hearing things that aren't there. Tonight, the silence was too heavy. He settles into his sleeping bag, his rifle propped against a log. Around 2 a.m., he wakes up abruptly. His body is rigid with instinct. He doesn't hear anything. Not the wind, not the ice cracking. The silence is absolute. Arthur, voiceover. The fire was embers. Not a single branch snapped. The air felt thick, like being underwater. I felt it. Eyes. He lies still for 10 minutes, sweat cooling on his neck despite the temperature. He knows something is watching the camp. He slowly unzips his sleeping bag and crawls out. He grabs his rifle and sweeps the dense line of trees with his flashlight. The beam stops on nothing but trunks and shadows. No tracks, no broken branches. Arthur, voiceover. Whatever was out there, it wasn't clumsy. It wasn't hungry. It was just observing, studying the pattern of my breathing. He walks the perimeter of his camp, his boots crunching loudly on the frozen earth. He returns to his fire and waits until dawn. The feeling of being watched never leaves. The next day, he starts his hunt. He finds elk tracks, but his focus is gone. He keeps looking over his shoulder. He notices something strange about 20 feet off his hunting trail. Small piles of smooth gray stones placed in perfect, unnatural circles around the base of certain trees. Arthur, voiceover. They weren't there yesterday. They looked deliberate, like markers. Someone was guiding something, or marking me. He continues walking. He hears a sound, a slow, faint scraping noise, like rough wood rubbing against wet bark, coming from high up in the canopy. He drops to his knee, aiming his rifle. He scans the branches. Nothing. The scraping stops instantly. He realizes the sound was coming from a location that would give an observer a perfect elevated view of his entire hunting path. Arthur, voiceover. It had been tracking me from above, moving silently when I moved, watching my route. He races back toward his camp, the fear now turning into cold, clear panic. He decides he must pack up and move immediately. He stops dead when he reaches his camp. His rifle is where he left it. His pack is untouched, but his sleeping bag has been unzipped. The zipper is pulled all the way down, the lining folded back neatly. Arthur, voiceover. That's when the reality hit me. It wasn't a bear trying to get food. It was something intelligent, something that understood vulnerability. He inspects the ground furiously. He has to find a footprint, something tangible. He finds it, near the edge of the stream where the mud is still soft under the ice. It's a massive print, far too large for a man. It's bare, no boot. But the structure of the print is wrong. It has 6 toes, and the heel is almost perfectly circular. Arthur, voiceover. It wasn't an animal I knew. It wasn't a man, and it had walked silently within 10 feet of me while I was sleeping and unzipped my bag. He quickly packs only his essentials, water, rifle, and his compass. He douses the rest of his camp and runs south. As he starts running through the dense thicket, he hears the sound again, directly behind him. It's a low, rhythmic whistle, soft, tuneless, and terrifyingly close. It sounds like it's enjoying the chase. He doesn't look back. He just runs, lungs burning, driven by the absolute certainty of a predator behind him. Exterior, forest path, 12 hours later. Arthur runs for 12 hours straight until he hits the old service road. He's exhausted, dehydrated, and nearly insane. He waves down a passing logging truck. The driver pulls over, startled by Arthur's appearance. Trucker. Jesus, man. What happened to you? You look like you saw a ghost. You're bleeding. Arthur, gasping. I need a ride. Don't stop. Just drive. To the nearest town. Arthur manages to tell the driver only part of the story. He mentions a large predatory animal that stalked his camp. He can't bring himself to mention the 6 toes or the neat zipper. The truck speeds away. Arthur is huddled against the passenger door. He glances back at the dense tree line. He sees nothing, but he knows it is standing there, watching the truck recede. Arthur, voiceover. We called the police later that week. They sent a small search team out. They found nothing. No tracks, no camp remnants, just the stones. He never went back to those woods. He sold all his gear. He tried to forget the feeling. Years later, Arthur is safe, living in a small city apartment, far from the silence of the spruce trees. But sometimes, when the wind is just right, or when he wakes up in the middle of the night, he can hear it. The faint, slow, rhythmic whistle, not coming from outside. Arthur, voiceover. It wasn't just watching the camp. It was watching the hunter. It was studying me, learning my patterns, knowing exactly where to place those damn stones. He often finds himself compulsively placing small piles of smooth gray stones on his windowsill, arranging them in perfect circles. He does it because he knows the woods are honest. They don't leave witness.